Welcome to Travel Talk Thursdays with Journeys Worldwide. I'm Sean Luce, and today we're exploring a unique journey that blends the wilderness, excitement, and beauty of Africa with the benefits of yoga and holistic well-being. Joining me is Clare Sullivan. Clare's an holistic dietitian and yoga therapist who takes a whole body approach to health and who has created an incredible yoga safari experience in Zambia. Together, we'll talk about how mindful movement, nourishing food, and time in nature can help you reconnect with yourself, all while surrounded by the sights and sounds of the African wilderness. Claire, welcome to the podcast with Journeys Worldwide. And we met many years ago down in southern Tanzania. Great little area that what used to be the Selous Game Reserve is now Nyerere National Park. And since then you've lived in Zambia. You're still living in Hobart, but still go back to Zambia occasionally. Am I right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Once or twice a year, I get back there.
Oh, fantastic. That's nice. That's what I try to. I try to get back to Africa fairly regularly, but it doesn't always work. Can you just tell us a bit about your background, for those who haven't met you yet, and what you do as a holistic dietitian and a yoga therapist?
Okay. Well, when I started my trips to Africa, I was living in the UK. And so from the UK to Africa was a sort of like an easy hop. And I trained originally as a dietitian in a sort of traditional medical sort of model. And over life's changed. You just move in different paths, have different things calling you. I started doing yoga, and the two things became one, in terms of working with the body, both through food and through movement. And that's sort of how it came together.
I suppose they do complement each other and are really
I think
important
they
to each
do.
other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason I got drawn to dietetics to start with, because I love food and cooking. And
You've got some great recipes on your website. I think we might mention a little bit later, but I was looking at that a couple of days ago and thinking, oh, that looks good.
So it sort of just blended really well. And because I come from that medical model, putting yoga into that fold in a movement, breath, relaxation style. Yeah.
So just combining them, I suppose you say that just comes naturally, combining nutrition and yoga therapy, which you need to explain to all of us that there's a difference between yoga therapy and yoga as we know it, like you would be doing on the safari.
Yeah, so yoga per se is what people generally think about as an asana practice, the movement practice.
Right.
Which often it also incorporates breath work, because breath and body and movement, are together.
Okay.
Traditionally, through the Indian style, it was always yoga therapy. Yoga was used as a whole body practice, so for your mind and your body as one. So I then, after I'd done yoga practice, I then trained in yoga therapy, and that's where that sort of putting the medical, Eastern medicine, Western medicine sort of together. And so I call my dietetics holistic, because I don't work through a traditional medical model of dealing with chronic illness through diet.
Right.
I would help people with chronic illness through their movement, their lifestyle practices, which does include food, but not through diet. Yeah.
Yes.
I hope that makes sense.
Well, to me it does. I mean, yeah, you mentioned it on your website as well. As food is it's great. We all love food. Well, most of us love food, and why restrict ourselves and get onto that seesaw where you're up and down and dieting and always enjoy it. So yes, no, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, and I think too, if we're thinking about food, we also have to think about the environment in which we're eating. So what your cooking practices are, what your shopping environment is like, who you're eating with, what time of day you're eating. There's a whole lot of other issues aside from what's just on your plate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose who you're eating with as well. I mean, it's just like travel, really. Travel is so much more enjoyable when you're going with people who you love and who you enjoy traveling with.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's always really interesting, isn't it? You know, if you're traveling by yourself and you meet people and you sit and have a meal with them, you know, you have interesting conversations and yeah, it's all around food.
That which is what brings me on to what I'm really excited about talking is the yoga safari that you're going to be running in Zambia next year. Where did the idea come from for you to combine, yoga, mindfulness, and safari? My main passion.
Well, I was living in Zambia for a while, and while I was there, I was doing some nutrition work in some of the lodges and hotels, and I was also teaching yoga to some of the local people at one of the big hotels in Livingston. And I did a couple of retreats in one of the national parks in Zambia.
Okay.
And so then when I moved back to Hobart and I was still wanting to be in Africa, I thought, well, let's put the two together. You know, let's do the travel. Um, you know, lots of people want to go to Africa and see the animals, but it's also nice to have another angle to it.
Yep.
You know, to be moving. So, you know, when you know you're sitting in a safari vehicle, it can, you know, bump you around a bit. So yoga is
Right.
really nice from that perspective. It's also very calming. And if people have a regular practice, it's nice to continue that. So
Right.
that's how that idea
Okay.
came
Yeah,
together.
I know a lot of the guides that I've been out with, they often refer to that bouncing around in the safari vehicles as safari massage.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily a pleasant one. So yes, the yoga then gets you to pull out all those little knots that have created when you've been holding on and you've been bouncing around. So yeah,
Mm, mm. So it can be something that people try as a, you know, new practice. You know, people might not have done yoga before, you know, they want to go to Africa
yeah,
and go with a group. You know, people like traveling with others, like-minded people. Yeah.
yeah. And why Africa in particular is something about the setting. Well, what is from your point of view anyway?
Well, I love Africa.
Yeah.
You know, once after my first visit, I was hooked. So being in Tassie, you know, it's nice to get back there. So from my perspective, it's nice to go there. I
Right.
also think it's really nice to introduce people to something new,
Yes.
um, and to take them in a way that they feel safe and comfortable.
Yeah.
And I think that that is also what I can offer because I'm familiar with the country and the way things operate, and I know the places that we're going. You know, it's an easy step for people to once they've jumped off the plane. You know, they can feel quite comfortable with the rest of the process.
Yeah, it makes a lot of difference for a lot of people having somebody who knows and they can leave the factors they're unsure about. They can leave it up to somebody who knows what's going on and then just enjoy the whole experience. Because a
Mm,
lot of people are going there not necessarily for something different in terms of different airports or different villages or whatever. It's just the general whole experience and having somebody lead them through all that. I used to love that about being a safari guide is leading people through and that awakening and just opening their eyes and their ears and their noses to what's going on around them. And it
mm.
was one of my favorite parts of it all.
Yeah. And also there's as an extension too, with, you know, knowing about the culture and introducing people to the whole environment in a different way is really
Yeah.
nice too. Yeah. So they
So
come
what
back with
would,
a more whole experience. Yeah.
right. So what would a typical day look like for somebody on one of these yoga safaris?
Well, we go with the safari model. So we get up early, have a
Yep.
bite to
Normal.
eat, go out on safari. So that might be in a vehicle, it might be a walk, it might be in a canoe. So it depends which lodge we're staying at. So if we're by the river, we might go out on a canoe. And then we come back late morning, sort of mid-late morning. And it's then between then and lunch that we do a little yoga if people are wanting to, because there's a little break time there.
When all the animals are mostly relaxing as well. So yeah.
Exactly. They've all had their breakfast. They've gone to have a little lie down. So we have a little movement or lie down, depending on what people want to do.
Or
And
both.
then there's lunch. and then the sort of afternoon siesta sort of time where people can go for a swim or read a book or have a snooze because they got up early, that
Yeah.
sort of like rest time. And then, the afternoon safari. So, bite to eat, afternoon tea. You eat very well on safari. The food
Mm.
always fabulous.
It is. Safari, people think they're coming to Africa and they're going to lose weight, but they never do. But how do you incorporate nutrition into the safari?
Well, I've spoken to the lodges about the type of food that's offered. Um, and I find the meals are generally, great. If they're
Always fresh.
especially,
Yep.
yeah, they use a lot of fruit and vegetables. There are always lots of options. If people have special dietary requests, if people are vegetarian or vegan or they're just, not eating particular foods, then that can all be adapted. If people give us notice beforehand.
Yeah.
Um, so I haven't had a lot of input into the menus because they're
No
adequate.
need to.
They're great. They're
Yes.
varied, you know, yeah, variation of what we would have if we were at home or out. Yeah.
Hmm. I actually remember when we were running one of the camps back in Tanzania, and I remember you helping us with our menus and that, and on the dietary side, and making sure. And that was one of the things that you started doing. You started specializing in was helping safari camps to understand what can work, especially where getting supplies is quite often a challenge in itself.
Mm.
So you have to think about, what's going to last and what's not going to last. And so, yeah, I remember you helping us on that. That was great. So,
So,
any standout moments you've had from past yoga retreats or safaris that you've led?
yeah, I think
There always
the
is.
biggest one, the biggest
Yeah.
one. I mean, there's always so much, isn't there? The biggest
Yeah.
one was the last safari I led. We were out, and the guide. We were on a drive, and the guide stopped. He could see that there was something that was here, that there was something that was not quite familiar. And off we went, and we saw a leopard kill an impala.
Wow.
And
You
not
actually
only
watched it happen.
yeah, and not only that, but there was a hyena just nearby also watching. And the leopard wanted to go off for a drink, but he wouldn't leave his kill
Yeah.
because he knew the hyena would get at it. So there's this little back and forth, going on
Right.
for a while. And then, after sort of half an hour or something, we just left them and off we went and went back for lunch. And then in the afternoon drive, we came back and here was the leopard with the impala up a tree, and the hyena was sitting underneath a tree.
Just waiting for any crumbs that might fall. Yeah.
Exactly. And so that was sort of like the evening. And then we went back again the next morning, and the leopard is still up there, lazing
Oh,
in the
wow.
tree, having a
Yeah.
lovely time. And there's about four or five, I can't remember, hyenas sitting underneath. So it was just amazing, sort of like, it was like a film, just seeing this little process going
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Actually, the trip I led in September was with some friends of mine from the States, and I met them first probably about 20 odd years ago when I was leading a trip in Zimbabwe, and we became friends and we stayed in contact and have done a few safaris together. And uh, the lady had been on numerous trips before. She'd been to Namibia, she's been Botswana, she Zimbabwe a couple of times, she's been to Tanzania. And this trip in February was the first time she'd seen a leopard.
Wow.
We saw, I think, three leopards on that trip. But yeah, they're not uncommon. It's just they're very uncommon to see. It's very special to get to see them, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, we go to South Luangwa National Park, and there are quite a lot of leopards there.
Yeah, it's well known for its leopards,
Mm.
South
Yeah.
Luangwa. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Mm.
that's where we saw this.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, it's all about luck. It's not like a film. I guess I just said it was like a film, but it's not like that.
Nothing's
It,
choreographed, nothing's
and
set up. No.
it's so unexpected what you're going to see.
Yeah.
And you can go out for an hour or two and not see very much, and it's like, okay, and then just around the next corner, wow, yeah. Yeah. And that's the
And then
exciting.
having a good guide as well is also really, really important. I keep saying this, but it is, for those days when there isn't much around, they can normally find something that really brightens things up and makes things interesting. So, and there are
Yeah.
some good guides at those camps that you are going to, I know.
Yes, yeah, because there's all the sort of the fauna flora around too is also really interesting. The environment.
And in terms of people, any standout moments in terms of people that have happened on any of your trips? Anything that you're allowed to share with us or anything
Oh
you can
no.
think of? All right.
Tiny.
Okay. Moving on to the next question. So this yoga safari that we're doing next year in Zambia, what all's included? Can you give us, for our listeners, a rundown on the safari?
Okay, so people have to find their own flight to Zambia, and then
Okay.
once they're there, everything's included. So the flights between camps, the safari itself, um, and the things that aren't included would be things like your insurance, um, gratuities to staff, and things that you buy.
It makes such a difference. We try and make sure that most of our trips are like that, where you don't have to worry then about, where's the next meal or how much that drink going to cost. And a lot
No.
of it is really, it's not always fully inclusive, but it does help a lot. So if you could share one piece of advice for someone looking to improve their well-being, what would that be?
Get enough sleep.
Are you talking directly to me or to everyone in general?
No, Sean, I didn't realize. No, I really believe that if we are well rested, then we can make good decisions about all the other things in our life, whether it be the exercise that we get or what we eat or how we respond to the people around us.
Well,
Mm.
that's a good piece of
Simple.
advice. I'll take that on board personally.
I know it's not as simple as it sounds.
No, it's not, unfortunately. No.
One of the most memorable things for me on all the safaris I've been on, and I
Yeah.
guess it was because this when I met you, that was my first safari. That was my first trip to Africa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Um, was when we saw, I don't know if you remember it, but when you and Alistair and I went for a walk and we came across that bull elephant who just came out of nowhere. I can remember this, like this elephant, I'd never been that close to an elephant. It was like its front leg, one of its front legs was like almost my size.
Yes.
It's like, because those Tanzanian elephants are huge,
Yeah.
aren't they?
Well,
It
they
was
all seem
so,
so much bigger when you're down on foot as well.
yes, yeah. And here's me, I was like absolutely terrified. And you and Alistair both going, it's all okay, Claire. Gently walk away. And you were doing this like little talk to the elephant. It was just amazing.
Great. Yeah, I absolutely love and I'm elephants and walking with elephants and I miss it so, so much. But
Mm,
yeah, no, they're amazing, amazing animals. And when you're on
mm.
foot, it just changes the whole dynamics of everything. And I really do love that.
Yeah, it does. It does. I
Yeah.
had a really beautiful experience when I was in Malawi, actually. One of the girls and I went for an early morning walk, and it was in a Mapani forest that was sort of like an old forest. You don't very often find old Mapani. Well, I haven't been in old Mapani forests. So it was early morning, and these sort of like dark trunks with the beautiful green leaves
Mm.
and the shadow, still the shadows of the trees on the ground, and all this red earth. And
Okay.
we're just pottering along, four of us, and there was an alarm call, and it was kudu, the alarm call. So of course there was this like, because it could have been leopard or it could have been lion. So of
Yeah.
course if it's lion, it's a
Yeah.
real worry.
That's really, gets your attention.
Yeah, yeah. So we were like, and then in the far distance, through the trees, you could see this pair of leopards walking away. So they were like mating, but
Oh,
they were
wow.
walking away. And
Yeah.
all you could do is just see these beautiful, absolutely beautiful creatures just walking. through, yeah, it was just amazing.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Just
special
amazing.
moments like that that just,
Yeah.
they stick
And
in your
it
memory.
sounds so little, but it's so big,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we keep saying as well, trying to explain Africa to somebody who's never been there, it's impossible to explain it.
Mm.
But once you've been there and had a couple of these sort of experiences, and you understand when people are trying to explain something like that, what
Mm.
the feelings and the impressions that they've had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the girls on that trip that I took was really, really well traveled, lived overseas, and she said it was the best holiday she's ever had.
Oh,
That's
wow.
one of my
Yeah.
my testimonials. People are so surprised.
Yes.
So surprised.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Claire. It's been wonderful hearing about your work, and I'm really looking forward to the safari. I think it's going to be amazing. I wish I could be on it, but I'm sure you are going to enjoy it, and everybody is going with you. And we will catch up with you again soon.
Thanks, Sean.
Claire, thank you for joining us and for giving us a bit of insight into the yoga safari experience that you'll be running in Zambia. If you'd like to find out more about joining Claire in Zambia, you can visit our website, journeysworldwide.com.au, or follow the links in our show notes. Can you just imagine doing yoga on the banks of the Zambezi? Maybe the afternoons a game drive looking for leopard or elephant, and evenings under the African stars. Thank you for listening to Travel Talk Thursdays, and we'll see you next time for stories and adventures from Africa.